Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
My name is David, and I'm a grateful recovering addict. Wow. I was asked to speak tonight and let you know a little bit about my story. First of all, I've had a major accomplishment in my life. I was not only named as a candidate, but I was chosen as one of this year's spotlights for My Story Matters in Oasis, which is statewide. Wow, it's a hell of an accomplishment for a guy who really tried to stay real profile. But that's not my story. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. I was raised in Brooklyn. I'm a child of one. Um, a single parent raised me, and I know she did the best she could, but I think all through my life I blamed her because she never was really there. As a result, I used that excuse to do whatever I want to do whenever I wanted to do it. You know, I took myself through a whole lot of drama, pain, depression, drugs, psych centers, you name it, I was there. But more importantly, I made excuses for my behavior. So I'm here to tell you that two felony sentences, 45 misdemeanor convictions, three parole violations, and three commitments into a psych center later that you can recover one day at a time with the help of the program of recovery, and which I happen to personally use, which is NA. But I'm not here to sell NA or treatment in a whole. I'm here to tell you about my story. Um, like I said, I have to go right back to me, and me as an individual. All I was a liar, cheat, lazy, no good bum that my nana used to say, "You ain't nothing but a dressed up born boy. Why are you acting like that?" And I couldn't get it. So I blamed her, I blamed my mother, I blamed society, I blamed all the different ethnicities that you can imagine for the decisions I made. So I came up with this acronym, and it was very simple, and is if you change the way you think, you can change your life. I learned that when I was incarcerated the last time, Department of Corrections became the power greater than myself, and it took me away for 42 months and put me into an environment which I thought was hell, which really became heaven because I found me. That place was called Mount McGregor, and with the help of Paul Hogan, Monroe Parrott, and Father Young, those individuals like kind of transcended me from a recidivist criminal to a qualified health professional that kind of like is involved and entrenched in helping others and rather just helping myself to what you got in your pocket. And that's all I've ever done. So that's what I do. I'm right now, I do whatever's necessary to help others. But more importantly, I help myself by making meetings, right? Having a sponsor, having a daily schedule and sticking to it, getting proper rest, and you know what? Knowing all my weaknesses so they become my strengths. But that's my story. What's yours?
My story is not complicated, but it's different. My story is not just about me using drugs and being in a city. I came up and I was born and raised in the 50s. So I experienced a whole lot of stuff that made me not feel good about myself and also that killed my hope. And I moved from Mississippi to Chicago in 1967, so I dealt with a whole lot of issues that had nothing to do with drugs, but it had more to do so with who I was. So it was a whole lot of different things that I had to teach myself, and the things that I always have looked for in my life was solution to my problem. And my problem was always I was never comfortable in me or about who I was. I was always told to be in my place, stay in my place, and watch out. So then I learned and I taught myself self-hatred. I came into the program actually in 1990, and I walked into my first meeting. I stayed 15 minutes because I thought I had been found out, only to go back out for another 5 years. And when I made the decision to come back in, I didn't come back in because I really wanted to stop. I came back in because the drug had whooped my ass just that much. So when I came into the program, I came in, there was nothing I wanted to do but just not use for 4 years until they got through piss testing me. but something happened, and 6 months clean, I wanted to lead a program, and I wanted to hurt myself and hurt others. And remember, Monroe helped save my life. When he helped save my life, he took me on a venture of recovery. And I've been in institution. I've never been locked up for a long stretch. I think the most time I ever did might have been 24 hours to 7 days. But anyway, it didn't matter whether I did prison time or not. Was nothing more worse than a self-imposed prison. So I came to this program, and the program been working ever since. I'm clean today, and my life have took different level. My recovery went from one phase to another phase. In the phase today, it's about living. And I want to say this here to whoever see it and wish it, you're dealing with a disease that has the power not to kill you, but to talk yourself into killing yourself. So this thing now is about a life and death situation. I no longer want to die. I want to live because I understand. I was telling others that it is not about my story. It's just about me being the part of the story in the chapter of life that God has created to put me in that book. And I'm enjoying recovery. I love what I do. I love to travel. And it's amazing. Give yourself a chance. You don't have to die. You don't have to be a prisoner of other people's opinion. Know that this thing works. You see people who've been incarcerated that's out living. You've seen people who come from all walk of life. I got a story, and I'm just sharing this here with you. I got plenty more, but it's not enough time. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Wilma. I'm an addict. Wow, what's my story? My story began in Barbados, the West Indies, about 15 years. I decided I wanted to own my own life, and in the process of doing so, I found people that were exciting to me. In the beginning, I was always that follower. I wanted to be down. That was my story. It still is my story to a degree. However, I took that route, and I left home early. I dropped out of school. And I need to go back and say that the people that raised me were really loving, caring, and they had a lot to offer to me, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I found out later, as I got into this process, that my search and my quest was to find my parents and to know who they were. So being defiant and abandonment issues and rejection issues, all that came up like 30 years later. However, so my mom was in this country, and they told my mother that the only way that they need to get me out of that island, because at that point I was doing some dangerous stuff and people were looking to really hurt me. So I came up to this country, United States, and when I got here, it was just a matter of maybe a month or two where my behaviors picked up all over again, and I never even was aware of them. That was the way of life for me. So I started doing what I was doing. I got here in 1974. By 1975, I had a daughter. Her father went to prison before she was even born. So you can tell already that I started moving really quick. He was never in her life at that point, and he did another statement. So I pretty much raised my first child alone. But I need to go back again and say that my first pregnancy ever, the child died due to my addiction. I was like 16 years old. And that baby died. So then I came here, and that's when I had my daughter. And 11 years later, I had a son who was 2 pounds, 15 ounces due to my addiction. Then right after that, I had another child that died due to my addiction. So I used hard. I ran hard. I used hard. But somewhere in that whole process of me running, some of the things that were instilled in me by the people that raised me early on, I always try to keep a job. I always try to work. And I, so that I did. I just wasn't able to be consistent with it. I was able to be a bank teller. I was able to work for the county of Westchester. And I never was able to keep those jobs, and I never could understand why. Because like I said, using was my way of life, and I never was able to incorporate my successes and failures and realize that the successes were stagnated by my using. So I just kept on going, and I used up until 1995, and I also need to say that I didn't come into this process willingly. I moved out of Yonkers, New York, as a result of owing back rent and owing some money. And I got up here. I came up here with a friend that wasn't in recovery, but said I needed to do something different, and I came up here. I used while I was up here also, but that was really short-lived. I was given an ultimatum in the place that I was staying that if I wanted to stay there, I had to get some help. And in so doing, I was sent to outpatient, and my recovery started off there. That was back in December 29th. My last day of use was December 28th, 1995. And I've been in this process ever since. And I need to say that it's the most beautiful thing that has ever happened in my life. I have since been able to forgive my family, but forgive my mom, my dad, wherever he was, and to move on. But most of all, what I did that I think was part of my success in this process up to this point is that I ran with people that were in recovery. I came here, they sold me the best package there was, and I bought that package. And even in my failures and bad relationships, failed marriages, 2 of those in recovery, failed marriages, I was still able not to use a day at a time. I've lost loved ones, I've lost friends, and I still didn't use. And every day, my life is surrounded with recovery.
My name is Malik R, and I'm an addict, and also survived the lifestyle of criminality. My pathway of recovery is basically love. And the reason why I mention that is because it was only through unconditional love by men and women through the process of recovery that allowed me to become the man that I am today. I'm here to talk about the past, the present, and what's about to happen in the future. I'm a Jersey boy, originally from Long Branch, New Jersey. Used to go to ciphers at a place called Allah's Paradise, which is better known as Asbury Park, New Jersey. And from there, we was carried over to Fort Greene Projects, that's where the rallies was at. Back then, it was called the First Resurrection, better known as the 5% Nation. So I was raised in a household. I shot my mom up with heroin at the age of 5. I was sold into prostitution by my own brother at the age of 5. So this is not just about learning what happened in the past, but it's about overcoming the past and representing someone who you are in the future. I did 14 years in the penitentiary, and that's when my life actually began. My life did not begin outside of the penitentiary. My life began inside of the penitentiary. When I was in Rikers Island, and the woman that I was with bought me up some drugs, I stuffed it in my ass, went upstate the next day, and I was trying to get some cigarettes, and I was told on, and I caught a case. They gave me 4 different charges at Ulster Correctional Facility and took me to outside court. And I told them I had a problem, you know what I mean? And they put me in a box. They gave me 180 days in the box. I left the box after doing 30 days and ended up at a place called Mount McGregor Correctional Facility. And when I got there, the first words I heard was Magic Mountain. Now, I didn't know what was so magical about this mountain, but I knew it was a minimum security, you know what I mean, facility. It had no fences, you know what I mean. It had a lot of movement. But what I realized about this specific facility was that I wasn't able to run for myself. I was consistently confronted with who I was. I went to a program that you're mandated to go in New York State, which is called Alcohol Substance Abuse Treatment Program. It doesn't matter if you had a drug problem, if you sold drugs, if you had any type of drugs on your record, you was obligated to go through this program in order to be released. And I went in there fronting. But there was a gentleman there that actually was living the program of NA outside, but he was a counselor there, and he was a Spanish man. And he was constantly challenging me on my thinking patterns. And it was real frustrating because everything that I tried to punch holes in this facility was the same things that he was coming back to me and counteracting anything I said. So I couldn't get away with nothing. So instead of trying to beat this, system, what I did was join the system, and I became part of the ASAC program. I was a poor boy where my mother measured the cornflakes and the Vitamin King that was given through us through the state. You know what I mean? So she knew when I had more than one bowl of cereal. So that was the type of lifestyle I lived. I wore my sister's clothes, my brother's clothes, so I never had no clothes of my own. And I ain't ashamed to say it because my mom did the best that I could. She was an addict. She died an addict. My brother was an addict. He died an addict. My uncle was an addict. He died an addict. My sister was an addict. She died an addict. You know what I mean? So my whole thing is that I'm representing a whole generation of people that were behind me that died as addict and never heard the message of recovery. So let me explain to you that if no one else can get it, you can get it. You know what I mean? And it's a lifetime process. It's not just this thing doesn't happen overnight. You got to do the total opposite of what your belief system is. You know what I mean? Like I thought men wasn't supposed to talk to men. I had to come in a program and uncover to rediscover who I was with other men. You know what I mean? They told me, Malik, you need to get with some men, and never mind the women. You know what I mean? Because it's so much easy to manipulate, to lie, to cheat, to connive real easily, especially when you got hidden agendas and you're brought up on everything that was conditionally. Narcotics Anonymous afforded me some unconditional love. Unconditional love meaning they did the right thing for the right reason and not asking for anything back in return. And that was something that was very profound for me because where I come from, nigga, look, you do something for me, I'm gonna do something for you. So I went into the college campus, I opened it up and I closed it up and I found a new way of life. The new way of life for me was recovering, you know what I'm saying, in the educational system. After being down there in New York City for 5 years, I came up, my calling was to come up to Albany. In Albany, some of the accomplishments that I've had, I was a single father of 5. I took 3 kids that weren't mine. I resigned from a state job getting paid almost $16 an hour to take care of 5 kids and give back what was so freely given to me, and that was unconditional love. These 3 kids was going to go into the child welfare system. They were going to foster care. They were going to be separated. And I vowed to God that if he give me the opportunity to go ahead and do his work, then I'll do it. I took these 5 kids in. You know what I mean? They're all healthy, placed in great homes. I'm still a single father of a little tiny girl, which I had since she was a month old. She's going on 3. They gave me the Father of the Year award. Check that out, a Father of the Year award to a motherfucking criminal like me. You know what I'm saying? It was given to me by Michael Breslin, Executive County Commissioner in Albany, New York. I've also completed my bachelor's degree. I'm class of 2010. I give a big shout out to SUNY Albany for letting this ex-offender go through there, you know what I mean, and represent other ex-offenders that the doors are open for them to come through today. See, my job is to break barriers for the ex-offender and the recovering addict. It doesn't matter what you're recovering from, but I know what I'm recovering from. The question to yourself that, what do you need to recovering from? One thing that I must say that you can walk around here with the fur coat, with the big cars, with the big chains, and all these conventions with 80-degree weather. That never made sense to me. You know what I mean? But it really doesn't matter. Whatever keeps you coming. You know what I mean? For me, was that hug that girl gave me on 144th Street with the big butt. That's what kept me coming in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Through the process, it changed over a period of time. I began to come for me. You know what I mean? Some of my other accomplishments. I'm the deputy coordinator for Andrew Cuomo, part as the Democratic Committee in Albany, New York. I also campaigned for Helen Heath Rowland, you know what I'm saying, from a city judge going to a surrogate judge. I was afforded to go to the internship, the legislative internship that gave me a choice to go with the senators or the legislator. You know what I mean? Off of academic achievements from SUNY Albany. I chose the assembly, you know what I mean? I was chosen at the mock session to be one of the individuals to present the bill. The bill that I presented was post-secondary correctional education, meaning let's bring the educational system back, the people that are behind the wall, to at least have a shot at success once they're released. You know what I mean? Another thing is what's one of my biggest accomplishments is that I've been accepted into Albany Law School. Listen, I got 7 felonies, about 5 misdemeanors. You know what I mean? And I'm not bragging of all my accomplishments. I'm boasting on what Narcotics Anonymous have given me the tools in order to make these accomplishments. I want to say that again because some people think that a lot of times because we boast of what God has given to us, that we boasting on what we have. No, we wouldn't have none of this shit if it wasn't for Narcotics Anonymous and God. I want to make that clear. All this shit takes work. I got 4 things that I leave you with that I want to accomplish in my life. For 1, I want to live. For 2, I want to learn. For 3, I want to love. And the 4th one for me is most important, that's leave a legacy. The question is to yourself, what type of legacy will you be leaving behind? My name is Malik.
Yeah, my name is Tyrell P. I'm a recovering addict. My story is about grace and mercy. Grace because he kept me, and mercy is unwarranted favor, in spite of myself. My story began in Brooklyn, New York. I was born in Cypress Projects. By the age of 12, I was out of control, and my mother couldn't handle me no more. So she sent me to Queens to live with my grandmother, Southside. That's where the lifestyle began. Started hustling at a young age. I'm a convicted felon, seven felony convictions, 4 state bids, 19 misdemeanor convictions. But something sparked me, because from then on, my life changed. From 1994 to 1998, I stayed clean. I didn't go to prison. From 98, I caught another bid because I wanted to do it my way. It was suggested I come to Albany, New York, but I didn't. I wanted to go back to Queens. 2002, I came home, and I haven't been back to prison since. I've been home 8 years, 14 days. I count them every day. My lifestyle changed, but some things I don't want to give up, like the hustling. And that's why I have 5 months and 4 days, because I always want to take my will back. I want to sell CDs, DVDs, clothes, sneakers, and I can't do it because it brings me right back to the lifestyle. Because they told me in the beginning, if the drugs don't kill you, the lifestyle will. I don't regret any of my relapses. They're all a learning process. Because I remember a man once told me, you a mistake, you made a mistake, you're not a mistake. Relapse is a very rigorous part of recovery. If those who relapse, you think you can't get back, just stop for 1 day. 1 day is a miracle. 1 day equal 2 days, 2 days equal 3 days, and so on and so on. Clean time doesn't matter, but yours do, personal does. So don't compare your clean time to no one else's. Just do what you gotta do. Stay clean 1 day at a time.
Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.